We've seen plenty of street rappers turn out to be cappers. Whether it's 6ix9ine going from screaming Treyway on the block to screaming save me to the judge, or Rick Ross stealing his name and numerous plot lines from some other drug dealer called Rick Ross. But the thing with Pop Smoke is he always claimed to be different.
Because if you know me, then you know I'm really real in real life. Like, if it's beef, you're not gonna go on the internet.
Right. And publicize it.
Publicize, because somebody might get hurt.
Right.
Unfortunately, we got the paperwork to prove that he was indeed the real deal. In fact, story goes, Pop Smoke was a tough guy ever since he was a kid. As a teen, he'd apparently attended 9 different schools.
I went to like 9 schools.
Why?
Bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Going through these streets.
Story goes, the reason that he'd been to 9 schools was because he kept bringing his 9 to school. And on one point, even got 2 years probation as an adolescent for a weapons charge that was later dropped.
Bro, I was on a bracelet for 2 years. What y'all call it out here?
A tag.
Yeah, we was on house arrest.
For 2 years?
For 2 years.
How old were you then?
I graduated with it. And I just graduated a year ago.
Oh, for real?
So,
oh, you were jammed.
So I had it from 17.
In fact, in his own words, he says that they kept kicking him out of school because even as a teen, they thought that he was some sort of gang leader.
For real? They said I was like a gang leader, some bullshit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I said, whatever. And they kicked me out. They say it's not the good fit for you.
It's no good fit.
But fortunately, while Pop Smoke was underachieving in the classroom, he was overachieving on the block. He claimed to have started dealing drugs as a teenager in the mean streets of Brooklyn's Canarsie, also known as the Floss, when he'd returned from prep school.
We was doing everything, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know, like I always say, when you come from like the hood, you go and try at least 3 things, you know what I'm saying? Play ball, sell drugs, or scam. You know what I'm saying?
Scam is the new one now, isn't it, man?
Nah, we been scamming.
Okay.
Yeah, we been scamming.
Seriously?
Long time ago.
And well, it turned out he was a natural hustler because by the time he was 16, he was already pushing a Beamer.
I used to come in school, Mike. I was 16, I was driving a Beamer. Like,
Where you get a Beamer from at 16?
You know what I'm saying? Well, I was driving a Beamer though.
And could you even were you allowed to drive?
A license.
No license.
Yeah.
At school?
No, I had a license.
You had a license?
I had a license at 15.
I wonder what kind of driver you are.
So Pop Smoke was hustling on the block and making a little bit of street money, but his realness ran far deeper than that. Whether or not his teachers were really right about him being a gang leader, he certainly appeared to be putting in work in a gang. In fact, if you've been listening to Pop Smoke's music casually, perhaps you were wondering what the woo actually is. And well, if you've watched any of his interviews, chances are you're none the wiser.
Aren't familiar. What's the woo?
Woo?
Yeah. For those who ain't familiar, what does that mean?
Me. I'm the woo.
You the woo.
I'm the woo.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? This shit is like a lifestyle. I hate when niggas try to mix the gang shit with the woo shit. Shit got nothing to do with that.
Speak on woo because everyone's screaming out woo. What does it mean for those who don't know what woo is?
Woo is just.
Woo is a lifestyle.
Woo is a life. Woo is woo. Woo is a
lifestyle.
Yo.
It's a secret society.
I can't say no better than that.
That's
you know
it.
what I'm trying to say?
Oh right, well that's helpful. No, I'm sure that you can guess the woo isn't some sort of after-school puzzle club. In fact, an early interview taken live from the flossy blocks of Canarsie gave us a little bit more insight into what the woo really is.
Right, Los Angeles, word? It's all right. Yeah, it's the hood. Come through. It's the hood.
This the floss?
Yeah, it's the floss,
Oh,
man.
shit.
So, the Floss is a block in Canarsie, one of several gang-affiliated blocks in New York that rep the Woo, a colloquial name for a coalition of blood and Crip-connected New York gang sets. The Woo movement also includes the G-Stone 9 Crips, with close ties of course to Bobby Shmurda's GS9. Well, that explains the recent track Make It Rain with Pop Smoke and fellow GS9er Rowdy Rebel. So apparently there's a lot of overlap between the different gang sets that form the Woo, one of which is Pop Smoke's frequently mentioned 092, which the flossy blocks on Canarsie are part of.
Like when niggas be saying woo, they talking about y'all niggas.
Let's talk about the whole floor.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I'm on out too. All that woo shit. All that woo shit. Listen, I'm on out too. You heard? Like,
On our fucking
I'm from the
too, bro.
floors, you feel me? Woo niggas fuck with us. You know the vibes, bro, but on out too. Listen,
Oh,
Where we at right now? We in the 09s right now. Like,
shit.
in the 09s.
The
You know,
09s?
It's the 90s, you know?
In fact, authorities have even accused Pop Smoke of being part of a subset of the GS Crips, the 823. Now, I could be wrong, but maybe this is the reason that Pop Smoke bizarrely says in numerous interviews that his financial goal for his career is to make $823 million.
I ain't gonna stop until I got 823 million though.
That's the number?
Yeah.
Why that number?
Yeah. Just 823 million. I need 823.
Okay.
That's when I'm gonna stop. Eventually I want 823 million, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, only 823 mil.
Now, there's obviously a whole bunch more lore and background info out there about New York drill gangs, the crews that Pop Smoke was aligned with, the Wu versus their GD Opps, the Chew, but that's a whole other video for a whole other day. In fact, if you want a whole video of me breaking down New York drill gang lore, hit me on Twitter at TraplawRoss and let me know that is something that you want, and if enough people do, I might just make it. But if there's one thing that we've established, it's that Pop Smoke was really about that street life. And even as his transition to a successful and legitimate rapper took place, he made sure that his street credentials were closely tied to his music. In fact, even his very first upload to his official YouTube channel was an attempt to establish himself as the real tough guy that you would know him from his music. That very first upload is a 7-second video titled Pop Smoke Smacks Op Chapow. And this is an amateur recording of Pop Smoke savagely smacking a man to the ground from behind in a convenience store. Well, it turns out this is actually one of 2 Bloods who had smacked Pop Smoke around on camera when he was a child. A clip that was apparently widely circulated after going viral on WorldStar back in 2012. In fact, Pop Smoke even discussed going viral as a kid, seemingly suggesting that after this incident he would get recognized in the street. Though to be fair, he did say in a New York Times article that he was glad that this on-camera slapping had happened when he was a teenager because it made him boss up. And boy did he really boss up on that dude. Now, it turned out that one of those 2 guys that had originally slapped Pop Smoke on camera when he was a kid back in 2012 was actually shot dead by the cops in 2013 when he was only 16. But fortunately for Pop Smoke, the other dude was alive in 2019. And so 7 years later, in that video that we saw uploaded on Pop Smoke's YouTube channel, Pop Smoke caught this vintage op lacking in a 7-Eleven and severely put the beats on him on camera. And I tell you what, this beatdown goes a lot further than the 7-second sucker punch that's on his YouTube, because there is a 3-minute version of this beatdown that exists on WorldStar that shows Pop Smoke ruthlessly stomping his op out and asking him if he remembers him while his crew stand by and tell him it's time to leave. A scene which I obviously cannot show you because it goes against YouTube's terms of service. But hell, at least I can show you the couple of times he took a break from beating on this guy to throw up some gang signs for the camera. Yeah, that video is honestly insane. But nearly as insane as the video and the beatdown itself is the fact that Pop Smoke wanted this to be the first thing that you found out about him if you went to his YouTube, choosing this single act of pure realness as the perfect introduction to him as an artist. Think about that for a second, right? Pop Smoke wanted you, before you'd heard any of his music, to watch him beat the brakes off of an op in 7-Eleven. That is the kind of G that Pop Smoke really was. But it didn't stop there. I mean, plenty of Pop Smoke street shenanigans were captured on camera for all to see, as if he was building up some kind of portfolio to prove that he was the most street dude that had ever done it. He'd been seen doing the dash from the Jakes like some kind of Canarsie Usain Bolt.
Yo, Pop! Yo, Pop! Get off of me! Get off of me!
And footage of another incident surfaced, seemingly showing Pop Smoke dodging an op, swinging a shank at him during a drilling at an intersection that looked more like a UK drilling than a New York drilling. I mean, it's tough not to be convinced of Pop Smoke's street credentials considering just how much street law there is on him. But unfortunately, as well as the fans, the NYPD were well aware of Pop Smoke's street certifications too, which actually led to a November 2019 incident where the NYPD took him and 4 other New York rappers off of the bill at the Rolling Loud Hip Hop Festival, citing a safety risk.
Because I know there was a moment people was trying to stop you from doing shows.
Yeah, they still are.
Is it still happening?
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, one step at a time.
And then of course, there's the bizarre Rolls-Royce incident, where apparently a Rolls-Royce Wraith that was rented for a one-day music video shoot in California was never returned to its owner, who then tried to track it through GPS, discovered that it was moving through Arizona, apparently on a flatbed truck on the way to New York City, with Pop Smoke being pictured with the car on social media, leading the cops to eventually discover that Rolls-Royce parked outside Pop Smoke's mum's house, with newly tinted windows and a freshly pressed Alabama license plate.
Who stole the car?
Don't come to me.
The rapper pleaded not guilty and remained silent as he walked out of the courthouse this evening. According to the indictment, he's accused of driving a Rolls-Royce across state lines knowing it had been stolen. Prosecutors revealed that the Rolls-Royce had been leased, but it remains unclear by whom. A spokesperson for the Eastern District of New York tells us the the car was found outside the rapper's home in Canarsie last month. Then this morning, he was arrested at Kennedy Airport.
Once the car was recovered, Pop Smoke was swiftly arrested at the airport after returning from Paris Fashion Week. And while unfortunately Pop Smoke never got to really clear his name about this incident or explain why the hell this Rolls Royce ended up outside of his crib with a new set of plates. But for the record, he had denied this version of events in interviews, saying simply the whole thing was cap.
Can you tell us what happened with the car, or you can't?
Foolishness. I'll tell you
Yeah.
later, but just know.
I know it's sensitive. You can't talk about it right now.
But you know, it's cap.
So Pop Smoke was indeed a real one. And of course that is one reason why fans were so interested in him and his backstory, and probably why he was able to have so much of a huge impact on hip hop in such a short space of time. But in light of the nefarious things that he was involved in, Pop Smoke was no fool, because once things did start to take off for him, he began to take steps away from the street and into the industry, making the effort to pay attention and learn how to make the most of this opportunity and improve things for himself and his family.